Greetings to all. Welcome to CEC lecture. The topic for the lecture is International Human Solidarity Day. In this lecture, we shall attempt to explain the aims, objectives of International Human Solidarity Day. This lecture shall discuss important aspects of 2005 World Summit that took place from 14 to 16 September 2005 at United Nations headquarters in New York for International Human Solidarity Day. This lecture shall elaborate on contemporary international scenario that has made solidarity as one of the fundamental issues for global governance. To begin with, International Human Solidarity Day. This is a day that aims to celebrate our unity in diversity. This is a day to remind governments to respect their commitments to international agreements. This is a day to raise public awareness with respect to importance of solidarity. This is a day to encourage debate on the ways to promote solidarity for the achievement of sustainable development goals, including poverty eradication. This is a day of action to encourage new initiatives for poverty eradication. Now, we all know that United Nations observe certain days earmarked with special causes. International Human Solidarity Day, with reference to unity in diversity, commitments to international agreements, raising public awareness about importance of solidarity, are some of the important aspects, some of the important aims with respect to observance of International Human Solidarity Day. As we take our lecture forward, let us understand what do we understand by solidarity. The idea of solidarity can be found in the Millennium Declaration. Whenever we try to understand solidarity from the perspective of global governance, solidarity is often called as the fundamental value of international relations in the 21st century. Now, we all know that in the present world, wherein globalization is an important phenomena, globalization has led to more trade, interrelations, exchange between and amongst people, nations, societies. But in all of this, there are trade-offs. Trade-offs of growth versus poverty. International solidarity then becomes very important with respect to the bigger picture of solidarity, with respect to the bigger picture of managing issues of global governance. 20th December is proclaimed as International Human Solidarity Day. Now, as we are taking our discussion forward, let us understand what do we mean by solidarity. And again, to answer this question, we take reference to the popular definition that we get from lexico.com, that is, solidarity would signify unity or agreement of feeling or action, especially amongst individuals with a common interest. That is, the idea of mutual support within a group would signify solidarity. The 2005 World Summit, as we try to understand International Human Solidarity Day, 2005 World Summit is a very important landmark event which we must understand. The 2005 World Summit took place between 14 to 16 September at United Nations headquarters in New York. The 2005 World Summit brought together more than 170 heads of the states and government that time. When we try to understand the summit's agenda was based on a series of proposals put forward by the then United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan, and a very popular report that we refer to while understanding 2005 World Summit at New York, and while understanding the proposals put forward by the then United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan. The name of the report is Larger Freedom. The report is entitled as Larger Freedom. Now, at the summit, there were certain commitments that were done with respect to issues concerning global governance. And what were they? To understand that, we take reference to the archive from UN.org. The world leaders at the 2005 World Summit agreed to intervene on a variety of fronts to address major global issues. The world leaders committed that with respect to achieving the goals, the development goals specifically set out in the Millennium Declaration, it is essential that they must jointly work together. It was committed that there must be attempts to find innovative sources of development finance and additional measures to ensure long-term debt sustainability. It was committed at the 2005 World Summit that the commitment to trade liberalization, and at the same time leaders pledged to work diligently to implement the development aspects of the Doha work program. Now, all these commitments at 2005 World Summit, we are reading from the archives, the historical inputs that we get from UN.org. The General Assembly on 22nd December 2005 by Resolution 60/209 identified that solidarity is one of the fundamental and universal values that should underlie relations between people in the 21st century. It was decided to proclaim 20th December of each year as International Human Solidarity Day. By Resolution 57/265 at the General Assembly on 28 December 2002, once again we are getting all these inputs from UN.org. There was the resolution said that it established the World Solidarity Fund, which was set up in February 2003 as a trust fund of the United Nations Development Program. Its objective was to, once again reading from UN.org, to eradicate poverty and promote human and social development in developing countries, in particular amongst the poorest segments of their populations. Now, when we talk about the entire ambit of global governance, the role of United Nations with respect to these international observances becomes very important. Now, we all know United Nations, it is an international organization founded in 1945. The United Nations and its work are guided by the purposes and principles contained in its founding charter. The United Nations has evolved over the years to keep pace with a rapidly changing world. Now, we just mentioned that United Nations work is guided by the purposes and principles contained in its founding charter. Now, similarly, when we talk about International Human Solidarity Day, the UN Charter gives us certain ideas which places lot of onus on the issue, on the concept of solidarity. Let us understand how. When we read through UN Charter, it states that the United Nations has 4 purposes. What are they? They are contained in Article 1 of the United Nations Charter, that is Article 1. The purposes of the United Nations are to maintain peace and international security. That is to develop friendly relations amongst nations based on respect for the people, for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples, and to take other appropriate measures to strengthen universal peace. The UN Charter says that UN must aim to achieve international cooperation in solving international problems of an economic, social, cultural or humanitarian character, and in promoting and encouraging respect for human rights. The UN Charter says that UN must try to be a center for harmonizing the actions of nations in the attainment of these common ends. So similarly, what we see that how the concept of solidarity can be really understood, that it is working together with respect to attainment of common ends, looking forward to develop friendly relations, all of it can be worked with the focus towards solidarity. Further, when we try to understand United Nations and the bigger aspect concerning the concept of solidarity, the creation of United Nations drew the people and nations of the world together to promote peace, human rights, social and economic development. The organization was founded on the basic premise, as we just saw from United Nations Charter, that is of unity, harmony amongst its members, expressed in the concept of collective security, that somewhere, as we can read through, there is a lot of emphasis on the concept of solidarity. That is, it relies on the solidarity of the respective member nations, members, to maintain international peace, to secure international security. Further, in the spirit of solidarity only, United Nations relies on, once again quoting from UN.org, cooperation in solving international problems of an economic, social, cultural or humanitarian character as well. The responsibility to protect, when we try to understand the 2005 World Summit outcome document, member states noted that responsibility to protect population from genocide, war crimes, ethnic cleansing. The outcome document also stated that each individual state has the responsibility to protect its populations from genocide, war crimes, and this responsibility entails the prevention of such crimes, including their excitement through appropriate and necessary means. The international community should, as appropriate, encourage and help states to exercise this responsibility and support United Nations in establishing an early warning capability. When we talk about the aspect of International Human Solidarity Day and then try to understand it how the Charter of United Nations points towards the importance of solidarity with respect to issues of global governance. Now, we just noted that how at the 2005 World Summit, the outcome document spoke about responsibility to protect populations from genocide, ethnic cleansing, amongst others. Further, that how the very spirit of solidarity, it defines the working of United Nations, namely cooperation with respect to solving international problems. Now, dear learners, let's understand the significance of solidarity when we try to take reference towards the contemporary scenario. And for that, we take reference to the remarks made by United Nations Secretary General in the report to General Assembly on September 2021 before the end of the 75th session of the General Assembly. Now, the report, Our Common Agenda, looks ahead to the next 25 years and represents the Secretary General's vision on the future of global cooperation and reinvigorating inclusive, networked and effective multilateralism. The Secretary General's report on Our Common Agenda, once again we present the inputs that we got for doing our research for the lecture from UN.org. The Secretary General's statement to the General Assembly on 10 September 2021 points out that a movement for reinvigorating multilateralism, and with this notion the remarks said, and we quote, "The UN's 75th anniversary in 2020 arrived at a time of the great upheaval and peril. In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, member states came together to recognize that our challenges are interconnected and that they can be only addressed through reinvigorated multilateralism with the United Nations at the center of our efforts. Once again, just to update our listeners and all our viewers, that we are quoting from UN.org's the Secretary General's report on our common agenda. Member states recognize that there is a pledge to strengthen global governance for the sake of present and coming generations. The member states recognize that global challenges are interconnected and can be addressed through reinvigorated multilateralism as it demonstrated by the pandemic. Multilateralism is not an option but a necessity to build back better for a more equal, more resilient and more sustainable world with the United Nations at the center of efforts. And further, that implementation of the 2030 agenda is necessary for survival. Member states identify 12 areas of action that can only be addressed through reinvigorated multilateralism. In the declaration, member states resolve to, and once again we point out these 12 areas of action from the important information that we get from various UN documents. That is, first, leave no one behind. Second, protect our planet. Third, promote peace and prevent conflicts. Fourth, abide by international law and ensure justice. Place women and girls at the center. Build trust. Improve digital cooperation. Upgrade the United Nations. Ensure sustainable financing. Boost partnerships. Listen to and work with youth and be prepared. According to United Nations, a spirit of human solidarity can bring peace in social relationships at all levels. So therefore, as seen from the Charter of United Nations, from the objectives of United Nations, or from the need for having joint action, multilateralism, interdependence, interconnections to deal with the issues concerning present-day global governance, International Human Solidarity Day, observed every year on 28th December, then presents some very significant message, presents some very significant aims and objectives that we must pledge ourselves to. Though the pandemic has exposed and presented the threats, the disparities, it has also shown to the world how human solidarity is the solution to crisis. Quoting from the remarks of UN Chief Antonio Guterres, solidarity is humanity, solidarity is survival. That is the lesson of 2020. With the world in disunity and disarray trying to contain the COVID-19 pandemic, let's learn the lesson and change course for the pivotal period ahead. Remarks of UN Chief Antonio Guterres, read from his official Twitter handle. Unity in diversity, it is the key to celebrate, to observe with respect to International Human Solidarity Day. This is a day, a reminder to respect international agreements. International solidarity is a significant ingredient to improve the health, life standards of people across the globe. International Human Solidarity Day, observed every year on 28th December, an annual Unity Day of the United Nations. This is a day that celebrates our unity in diversity and reminds governments to respect their commitments to international agreements. We hope the lecture presented to you significant inputs and insights. We look forward to positive and encouraging feedback from you all. Thank you very much.